You want to know what really makes a woman lean in? It's not your compliments. It's not your charm. And it's definitely not how much you give. It's the one thing most men fear to use: boundaries. Not weak boundaries, not walls, not excuses. I'm talking about real ones, grounded ones. The kind that say, I won't shrink just to keep you interested. Because here's the truth no one told you. It's not your effort that makes her feel safe. It's your self-respect. In this video, I'm breaking down 6 powerful boundaries that don't just protect your frame, they attract women on a level they can't even explain. She'll feel it. She'll respond to it. And if you hold them long enough, you'll stop chasing her attention. Because she'll be chasing your presence. But before I walk you through these 6 boundaries, take a second to subscribe. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I read every comment, and it blows me away seeing just how many men are done playing small in relationships. Men who are ready to lead, not just react. Men who are ready to set the tone, not just follow it. What I'm about to share with you isn't theory. It's not abstract. It's the exact shift that separates the men she forgets from the men she feels lucky to orbit around. So let's get into it. Boundary number 1. The unavailable advantage. You've probably been told your whole life that being available makes you a better man. More respectful, more attentive, more boyfriend material. But here's how it often reads in her mind. Desperate. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a woman slowly lose interest right after you gave her all your time, your energy, your focus? You thought you were making her feel important. She thought you had nothing better to do. Here's the brutal truth. Constant availability screams low value. It says your schedule is empty, your life is idle, and she's your only source of meaning. You don't even need to say it. She can feel it. She feels it in how fast you reply. She feels it when you cancel your own plans just to see her. She feels it when you're too quick to give up your day just to please her mood. At first, sure, she'll smile. She'll call you sweet. She might even post about you. He's so thoughtful. But over time, the polarity shifts. And so does the attraction. Because masculine energy isn't needy. It's centered. It doesn't chase the feminine. It creates space and lets her choose to step into it. This is what I call the unavailable advantage. Now let me be clear. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being genuinely unavailable because your life is already full. Not full of distractions, full of purpose. You're building something. You have routines that fuel you. Work that drives you. People who rely on you. And here's the key. You don't drop it all just because she texted, "Hey." That's not cold. That's calibrated. And women feel it instantly. They sense you're not starving for attention. They sense your time is currency. And you don't spend it carelessly. Because when you're too available, you become predictable, expected, a given. But when your presence isn't guaranteed, your presence becomes desired. She starts to wonder where you are. She starts to wonder what you're doing. She checks her phone, not because you texted, but because you didn't. That gap, that absence, it activates something ancient in her psychology. It's not about ghosting. It's about gravity. You pull her in not by orbiting her 24/7, but by letting her feel the space. And here's the wild part. You don't have to create attraction. You just have to not destroy it by being constantly available. Let that sink in. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any words. Sometimes space creates the very tension that desire needs to breathe. Boundary number 2. The no apology rule. Most men think women want yes men. The guys who agree, who adjust, who say yes, even when they mean no, just to keep the peace. But here's how it actually feels to her when you do that. Uncertainty, weakness, lack of edge. Because every time you fold your truth into a soft excuse, you shrink in her eyes, even if she smiles on the surface. Picture this. She invites you to something that doesn't align with your schedule, your mood, or your mission. You want to say no, but your body tightens. You hesitate. You start crafting your answer like a PR statement. I'm really sorry. I've just got this thing, but maybe I can shift it. I'll let you know. You think you're being polite. She hears you being scared. Scared to disappoint. Scared to set a boundary. Scared to lead. Now let's flip it. Same situation, but instead you say, "Hey, I won't be able to make it. I hope it goes great. Let's catch up later this week." Clear, polite, grounded. No justification. No fidgeting. No apology for protecting your time. That's the no apology rule. It doesn't mean being rude. It means saying no without guilt. It means honoring your own time, your own bandwidth, your own energy, without begging for forgiveness. Because every time you over-explain a boundary, what you're really saying is, "I don't trust that I'm allowed to say no." And that energy? That's what kills attraction. Not the words, the uncertainty. Real confidence doesn't broadcast itself. It simply decides. It shows up in your tone, your eye contact, your simplicity. You don't need a paragraph. You need presence. And here's the irony. When you say no clearly, cleanly, and calmly, most women feel more drawn to you. Not because you denied them, but because you didn't abandon yourself. She doesn't need you to always say yes. She needs to know that when you say yes, you mean it. Because the truth is this: a man who can say no without apology is a man who can lead without fear. He's a man who trusts his instincts. And that kind of man doesn't demand respect. He embodies it. So ask yourself, where in your life are you saying yes when you really mean no? Where are you padding your boundaries with 10 layers of soft explanation? Because the more honest your no becomes, the more powerful your yes will feel. Boundary number 3, the respect reflex. Disrespect doesn't always show up as yelling. It doesn't always come with curse words or slammed doors. Most of the time, it's subtle. It hides in plain sight. It's the eye roll when you're speaking. It's the sarcastic jab about your work. It's the little comment she makes in front of her friends that cuts just deep enough to sting, but not deep enough to fight about. And here's what most men do. They laugh it off. They tell themselves, "She's just joking." They let it slide because they don't want to seem insecure, dramatic, or overly sensitive. But here's the truth. When you let subtle disrespect go unchecked, you don't look chill. You look invisible. Not to the world, to her. Because while she may not say it outright, she's always watching how you respond. She's feeling into your boundaries. She's testing your edge. And when she realizes you won't speak up, even when you feel that little flicker in your gut that whispers, "That wasn't right," she loses something important. She loses respect for you. Not because she's cruel, but because you showed her you won't even protect yourself. This is where the respect reflex comes in. It's not about snapping. It's not about fighting. It's not about making a scene. It's about calmly naming the moment, without fear, without apology. You look her in the eye and say, "Hey, I don't let people talk to me like that." That's it. No lecture, no angry tone, no defensive energy, just presence, just clarity, just frame. And here's the wild part. The second you do this, not only does her respect for you rise, but so does her femininity. Why? Because the masculine, when firm and grounded, gives the feminine permission to soften. She doesn't need to test anymore. She doesn't need to poke. She can relax. Because now she knows you're not just nice, you're anchored. That's the respect reflex. It's not about being hypervigilant. You don't need to analyze every word that comes out of her mouth. It's about simply not betraying yourself. Every time your gut says, "That didn't feel right," listen. Because the longer you tolerate the small cuts, the faster they bleed out your value. Think back for a second. Have you ever walked away from a moment with her and felt off, but didn't say anything? That was your frame collapsing, quietly, slowly, one joke at a time. But when you stand tall and speak with calm authority, you send a message. I see myself as worth protecting. And that energy? It's not just attractive, it's unforgettable. Boundary number 4. The calm test. Before a woman trusts your emotional depth, she will test your emotional center. And most men fail that test in the first 10 minutes. She makes a sarcastic remark. She throws a playful jab. She brings up an edgy topic just to see what happens. It's not personal. It's not even malicious. It's instinct. She wants to feel your frame. She wants to see if there's anything solid beneath your charm. So, what do most guys do? They snap. They explain themselves. They get defensive, or they freeze, desperate not to say the wrong thing. And in that moment, something breaks. She sees a man who is reactive, not grounded, not present, not unshakable. But the man who passes the calm test? He's different. She teases him. He smirks. She pokes. He pauses. She says, "You probably tell that to every girl." And he replies with a playful grin. "That's cute. Do you always test this hard on the first round?" No anger, no tension, just centered energy and a sense of play. That's the difference. Because emotional control isn't about being cold. It's about being composed. It tells her, "I've met intensity before, and I don't flinch." And that's what makes her lean in, not because you passed her test, but because you made the test irrelevant. You rewrote the script. While other men scramble to prove they're not like the rest, you showed her something better. You're not reacting to her storms. You're steady in your own weather. And that's what the feminine truly wants. A man who can hold space without losing himself. Because when she senses you're emotionally fragile, she feels unsafe. Not physically unsafe, emotionally unsafe. She doesn't know how much of her real self she can bring to the table. But when she feels your calm, when she feels your clarity, when she feels your quiet power, she softens, she trusts, and she stops needing to test. Because she's finally found something real. So here's your rule. When she gets fiery, you get still. When she pokes, you hold presence. When she escalates, you stay calm. You don't mirror chaos, you anchor it. Because the man who holds his emotional center doesn't just pass her tests, he makes her feel safe enough to stop giving them. Boundary number 5. The authority. Silence. A man who constantly explains himself isn't trying to be clear. He's trying to be accepted. Let that sink in. Because every time you soften a decision with 5 layers of emotional bubble wrap, every time you send a mini novel just to justify your no, you're not communicating confidence. You're negotiating it. And she feels it instantly. You think it's kindness. She feels it as weakness. You think you're clarifying. She feels you're asking for permission. Here's an example. You say, "I won't be able to make it tonight. It's been a stressful week and I'm really exhausted, but I hope that's okay. I really wanted to, I just can't." Now compare that to, "Can't make it tonight. Let's catch up later this week." Same message, different man. One is hoping she approves. The other assumes his truth needs no approval. That's the authority silence. It's the boundary that says, "I speak, I don't seek." You're not being cold. You're being calibrated. You're not pushing her away. You're pulling her into your presence. Because masculine energy doesn't beg to be understood. It trusts itself. It moves with direction, not justification. And here's the magic. When you say less, you actually say more. You're saying, "I own my decision. I don't need to soften reality. I don't need to explain my energy." She might pause. She might blink. She might even wait for the extra paragraph. But when none comes, something shifts inside her. She feels your certainty. She feels your edge. She feels your emotional efficiency. And in a world drowning in over-explanation, that silence is loud. Not the silence of avoidance. The silence of a man who isn't afraid to hold tension. The silence of a man who lets his words echo instead of drowning them in disclaimers. So here's your challenge. Stop filling the gaps. Let her feel them. Let your words hang in the air without rushing to clean them up. Because the authority silence isn't about saying nothing. It's about saying only what needs to be said, and letting that be enough. And in that restraint, you reveal something rare. The raw power of masculine presence. Boundary Shma 6, the Mission First Code. Every man thinks he can balance it. His purpose, his woman, his identity. But most men fail the moment they start to bend. She enters your life. And suddenly your morning routine shifts. Your priorities slide. Your focus fades. Not overnight, but inch by inch. Until your mission is no longer the anchor. It's background noise playing on low volume. And for a while she loves it. She loves the attention. She loves being the center of your world. But then something changes. Not because she's ungrateful, but because she senses something subtle. You've made her the mission. And that kills attraction faster than anything else. Here's the paradox. A woman doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to be part of a world that's already moving. She wants to feel like she's joining a man with momentum, not becoming his reason to wake up in the morning. That's why the Mission First Code is non-negotiable. It's the boundary that says, my path doesn't pause for love. It includes it. It honors it, but it's not driven by it. Because when you orbit around her, she becomes the sun. And now she has to carry both her energy and yours. She has to lead. She has to structure. She has to initiate. And that burden? It kills her desire. But when you stay grounded in your path, when your mornings are still yours, your fitness still matters, your goals still drive your calendar, she relaxes. Why? Because she's not being asked to complete you. She's being invited to complement you. That's when she truly feels feminine. When she's orbiting something powerful, not being depended on to power you. So here's the test. Look at your schedule. Does it still reflect your vision, or has it slowly morphed into hers? Do you still chase progress like you used to? Or are you chasing her approval instead? Because the man on a mission doesn't neglect love. He leads it. He doesn't sacrifice connection. He aligns it. And when a woman feels that, when she sees your fire burns with or without her, she doesn't feel pushed away. She feels pulled in. Not because she has to be your everything, but because she wants to be part of something bigger than herself. That's the power of masculine direction. It creates gravity, and gravity makes everything around it move, including her. Closing message. Every boundary you set is a message, not just to her, to yourself. It says, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And I'm not afraid to lose what doesn't align with that. And here's the part most men miss. Women feel that. They feel it in the silence between your texts. They feel it in the calm when they test you. They feel it when your no doesn't come wrapped in a guilt sandwich. They may not say it out loud. They might roll their eyes or push back at first. But deep down, they're watching. They're measuring your center. They're sensing whether your edge is real or just reactive. Because a man who respects himself that much triggers a quiet voice inside her. Maybe I need to rise to match this. That's how polarity is built. Not through dominance, not through manipulation, but through presence. Through a man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't overreach, who doesn't dilute himself just to be liked. You don't win her heart by proving yourself. You invite it by protecting your frame. So here's your challenge. Go back through these 6 boundaries. Pick the one that hit hardest, the one you've been avoiding, and make it your practice this week. Because every time you hold a boundary, you reinforce your self-respect. And every time you fold, you leak your value, whether she says something or not. If this video helped you see yourself clearer, hit that like button. If you're done being the man who's always available, always apologizing, always shrinking, subscribe now. Drop a comment and tell me. Which boundary are you reclaiming first? Because awareness is power. But action? Action is what makes you unforgettable. Until next time. Set the standard. Protect your frame. Own the moment. Fart.